Hi, it's Kelly from paperbeadrollers.com, and it's the jewelry tutorial you've been waiting for. Today we're going to make this fun and flirty necklace with all of those saucer beads you've been making since my last tutorial. Let's get started. If you watched my saucer bead tutorial, you saw this list at the end. It's a list of the paper bead sizes you'll need to complete this necklace and earrings. I'm showing it here so you can snap a picture or take a screenshot for reference if you're planning to make this project and you haven't rolled your paper beads yet. If you need to go back and watch the other video, I'll link it up here in the corner and at the end of this video. You can choose any color combination for this project. I used 3 shades of pink and 3 shades of blue that match a particular shirt that I wanted to wear this piece with. Now let's look at the paper beads I'm using, and I'll tell you how many 1/4-inch strips I used for each bead. This bead has 12 strips, 4 of each color. This has 6 strips, 2 of each color. I'll use 2 of these beads with 3 strips, 1 of each color, and 4 beads with 2 strips, all one color, and 10 of these 1-strip beads. You'll need 3 sizes of traditional beads as well. They can be any type of bead that you'd like, but I'd recommend you have some 6mm, 4mm, and 2mm sizes. The ones I'm using are Czech glass matte crystal AB rounds from artbeads.com. I'll put a link in the description for you. You'll need 20 or so head pins that are at least 1 inch. Now you'll need about 7 jump rings. Now I recommend 6mm size jump rings, although I will be using 10mm as well because, well, honestly, I ran out of 6mm. I like to use wire guardians to protect my wire from rubbing and breaking, but those are optional. You'll also need some crimp beads. You will need some type of clasp for your necklace. Now I'm using a lobster clasp, and then you'll need earring hooks. Now I'm going to use the ones that came in my June 2019 Bead Box subscription. I'm using 2 different types of chain for this project. For the part around the neck, I'm using this Beadalon decorative chain. For the dangles, I'm using a smaller, basic chain from Bead Landing. I'll also use 7-strand Beadalon wire for the section right above the medallion piece. For tools, you'll need a pair of wire clippers, a set of pliers, and a crimp tool, or you can use pliers to crimp. I'm going to use my 1-step looper tool as well, but you can make your loops manually if you don't have one. Now the first thing I'll do is prepare my 12-strip medallion bead. I'm going to put this decorative grommet in the center, and then we'll put a bead on top of that. So just take some glue and spread that into the core of the bead. And snap the grommet into place. And that's all I have to do to get this medallion ready right now. Next, we'll work on the chain area. Grab your beading wire and your paper beads. You'll need the light blue, medium blue, and dark blue single strip beads, and 4 of the single color 2-strip beads. You'll also need your wire guardians and 6mm beads. Cut a 4-inch length of wire for each side of the medallion. You may have a bit left over, but that way we'll ensure that we have a long enough tail. We're going to start by securing one side of our wire. Put the crimp bead on first and then put on the wire guardian. Put the tail through the crimp bead and make sure the tails are not crossed. They should be next to each other. Then make sure your crimp bead is pulled up tight to the wire guardian and crimp it down nice and tight. Now that the end is secure, we can string the beads. I'll put on my round bead first. Then the paper beads go in order. Lightest color first, on up to the largest size of beads. Then cap it off with another of the crystal rounds. Make sure the tail is tucked in under the beads. Now we secure the other side the same way. Slide on a crimp bead, put on your wire guardian, feed the wire through the other side, down through the crimp bead, pull everything tightly together, and then firmly press down to crimp the bead. Now we can attach both sides to the chain and the medallion. I used a total of 16 inches of the pretty chain. Just attach each end directly to the lighter end of the beaded wire sections. Now I'll separate this chain right in the center and add my clasps. Plain jump ring on the other side to act as the connector for the lobster clasp. You can attach the lobster clasp to one side using a jump ring. Now normally I would use a 6mm jump ring for this, but I'm short on them at the moment, so I'm going to use a 10. Since this will be hidden at the back of my neck, I am not too concerned about it. Now we can add our dangle chains. I'm going to attach a 6mm round to a head pin. And then loop this back end with my looper tool. Now my head pin is pretty short. The loop is going to be inside the core of the bead, and that is intentional. You'll see why in a second. I have a length of basic chain that is approximately 7 inches long. Now this will be the dangles for the necklace. I'm going to arrange it so it's unevenly folded, and then I'm going to hook it to the loop I just made on this bead. So we'll just close that up nice and tight. Now I can drop this chain right through the center of the bead, and that's what's going to hold the medallion in place. I'll take a 10mm jump ring, and I'm going to connect it in as close as I can to that loop that's inside the bead core. Then I'll just attach my wire guardians on either side, and the necklace is connected. All that's left to do for this necklace is to add on our dangle pieces. So first we have to get the dangles prepped and ready. You'll need your head pins and your 2mm rounds. I'm going to put a 2mm round on first. This bead is going to keep the paper bead from sliding off the top of your head pin. Then the paper bead goes on, and I'll use the one-step looper tool to make my loop. Now make sure you choose the prettiest side of your paper bead to face up because that is what's going to be seen the most. Once you get the small beads done, go the next size up. On these larger saucer beads, you can put a 2mm on the top and on the bottom of the saucer bead. And those are all of the paper bead dangles for the necklace. I'll also need to create some dangles with the rounds. I'll need 2 6mm and 1 4mm bead dangles. Now with these, don't get your tool too close to the bead or you will smash it. I have ruined quite a few beads that way. Do the same for the beads that go on your earrings, which is 2 3-strip beads and 4 1-strip beads, as well as 2 6mm round dangles and 1 4mm round dangle. Now we're going to go ahead and hang our beads on the dangles down the chain. So I'm going to pull out this contraption that I got at one of the big box stores. This is the Bead Buddy chain station, and this has made doing dangle jewelry so much easier for me. So it has a base like this with cups in it that hold your beads. Then it has these 2 arms that have hinges so they fold down for flat storage when you're not using it. But the top here has these 2 pins so you can put your chain right on it. It'll hold the necklace for you so that you can put your dangles on without having to worry about holding it or laying it flat. You can see exactly what your spacing is going to look like as you're hanging them, which just makes it so much easier. So I'm going to show you how to do this using my Bead Buddy chain station, and I will link this in the description for you in case you want to look it up and get one for yourself. Here you're looking at the back of the necklace. The first thing we'll do is add a 2-inch piece of chain about halfway down the existing longer piece of chain. Just open a jump ring, add your chain piece, and then slip it through one of the links about halfway down. This is going to give us a nice triangle-like spread at the bottom once we get the beads on. I'm going to add my first bead at the bottom of the longest chain. This pink one is the 3-strip bead. I'm not going to close these loops until I get everything hung. That will allow me to move things around until I'm happy with it. Next, I'll hang the 6-strip bead at the bottom of the second longest chain and a 1-strip bead at the bottom of the shortest chain. Now the lighter 1-strip bead can go about halfway up the shortest chain. And a 3-strip bead about 1/3 of the way down the longest chain. Or maybe not. Because we're not closing the loops, you can play with these and move them around until you get just the look you want. There we go. I like that better. Now I'll hang one of the 6mm rounds. This looks like a good spot for it. And I have one 4mm round to add. Now I'm going to make a few final adjustments until I'm happy with how this balances out. Now I can just go through and close all of the loops securely, and my necklace is finished. Now let's put together the bases of the earrings. First, turn the loop on the bottom of the fishhook so that it faces perpendicular. Now put a 4mm round on a head pin, then the paper bead, then the fishhook, then another round. Now you're going to loop the end of the head pin. Take your pliers and flip the loop back and over to help sandwich everything together and give your chain a place to hang from. It won't be perfectly tight, but that's okay for now. I used round pliers with this, but you can do it with chain nose as well. Do this with both earrings, and then we're ready for the dangles. I'm going to use the chain buddy to work on these earrings as well. I'll use a 6mm jump ring to hang 2-inch pieces of chain from each earring base. Then I'll hang the beads that I've already prepped on the chain until I'm happy with the arrangement. Now remember, I'm not closing these loops until I get everything arranged just how I want it. And there we go. Now I'll just close the loops, and it's perfect. So there we have it, our fun and flirty paper saucer bead jewelry set. It is so much fun. I can't wait to see what you make. You can share it over on my Facebook page. Be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell so you get notified when new tutorials go up.